The Oregon Trail was not an easy journey. When the pioneers finally reached their destination, many found that their problems were just beginning. In today's video, we will continue the story of the pioneers from the perspective of those who survived the journey. What happened after they arrived? Did they find the promised land? Did they struggle to establish farms and businesses? Did they stay in Oregon or move elsewhere? Welcome to Secrets of Survival. I love sharing the amazing stories of those who traveled west on the Oregon Trail. Most of the videos so far have been about the journey and surviving the trip. If you haven't watched those yet, be sure to check them out. Today, we are going to talk about what happened after they arrived at the end of the trail. If you enjoy learning about history, then subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Today's video is all about the struggles that many pioneers faced once they arrived in Oregon. But before we get started, let me tell you about a website that can help you uncover your family history. Imagine being able to explore over 19 billion records with just a few clicks of your mouse. MyHeritage has billions of historical records that bring family history to life. Their collection includes birth, marriage, and death records, military records, immigration records, and so much more. With over 19 billion records and growing, it's like having the entire world's historical records in the palm of your hand. You never know what treasures you might discover about your family history when you explore this amazing site. In the 1840s, most pioneers headed to the Willamette Valley in present-day Oregon. The valley is nestled between the Coast Range and the Cascade Mountain Ranges. While the valley is beautiful, it wasn't exactly what the pioneers expected. The climate was humid and rainy, and the soil was a sticky clay that didn't drain well. Many of the pioneers had come from the prairies of the Midwest, and they assumed that the fertile lands of Oregon would be similar to what they were used to. They quickly realized that farming in the Willamette Valley was going to be challenging. Add to that the fact that the rainy season lasted for months, making it nearly impossible to get around in many areas. The travelers who had envisioned themselves as farmers planting crops and raising cattle quickly found that their dreams were not matching their reality. Instead of rolling farmland, they were met with dense, thick undergrowth and fallen trees. To make matters worse, the heavy rains turned the trails into thick, sticky mud. Travel was difficult, and many settlers found themselves stuck in their wagons for weeks at a time. And then there were the biting insects. When the settlers arrived in the Willamette Valley, they found that they weren't alone. Native Americans had lived in the valley for many years. Over the years, the tribes had developed a sustainable way of life in harmony with the land. But unfortunately, there was tension between the settlers and the Native Americans. Tensions continued to rise until the 1850s when war broke out between the two groups. During the conflict, many Native Americans lost their lives, and the survivors were forced to leave their homelands and head further west. But the settlers soon discovered that farming in Oregon wasn't going to be as easy as they had hoped. The climate was cooler than they were used to, and the growing season was shorter. Plus, the soil was a sticky clay that didn't drain well. All of these factors made it hard for the settlers to grow crops and raise livestock. Many of them had to use the winter months to improve their farms and houses. Despite these challenges, though, the settlers were determined to make a life for themselves in Oregon. Farming was not the only occupation that the pioneers brought with them. There was also mining, fishing, and logging. Within a few years, the settlements began to grow. By 1850, Portland had become an important trading center for the region. The city was located near the mouth of the Columbia River, which provided settlers with an easy way to transport their goods to other parts of the country. This made Portland a hub for trade and commerce, and it quickly became one of the most important cities in Oregon. As the settlements grew, so did the need for services and businesses. Sawmills was set up to provide lumber for the growing number of settlers. And as more people arrived, so did more businesses to serve them. This led to the growth of small towns and villages throughout Oregon, each with its own unique character and charm. Despite the challenges they faced, the pioneers were determined to build a new life for themselves in Oregon. They worked hard to clear the land, plant crops, and raise livestock. They also worked to create a sense of community and build a better future for themselves and their children. Their hard work and determination paid off as Oregon grew and prospered. As I'm researching my family history, I often wonder what life was like for those early settlers. Where did they live? What kind of homes did they have? How did they earn a living? To learn more about my family's history, I like to visit various websites. One of my favorites is a site dedicated to preserving and sharing pioneer and family histories. Their mission is to preserve and share pioneer and family histories by providing a platform for sharing memories, stories, and documents related to those who traveled west in covered wagons during the 1800s. This website is a great resource for anyone interested in learning more about the Oregon Trail or researching their family history. Whether you read looking for information on a specific person or event or just want to learn more about life on the Oregon Trail, this website has something for everyone. Another site I enjoy is RootsWeb is a free website that provides a variety of genealogical research tools and resources. It is a great place to start your family history research or to continue your research if you've already started. On RootsWeb, you can find a variety of records, including birth records, marriage records, death records, census records, and military records. They also have a message board where you can connect with other researchers who may be able to help you with your research. In addition to these resources, RootsWeb also has a number of other tools and databases that can help you learn more about your family history. Overall, RootsWeb is a valuable resource for anyone interested in genealogy or family history. After spending months on the trail, the pioneers were eager to settle down and make their dreams of owning land a reality. But the reality was far from the dream. Many pioneers found themselves struggling to survive. The climate was cooler and wetter than they were used to, and the growing season was shorter. To top it all off, there were constant threats from Native Americans and wild animals. But despite all the hardships they faced, the pioneers were determined to succeed. They worked hard to clear the land, plant crops, and build homes. They also had to contend with the threat of disease. Diseases such as cholera and smallpox were common along the trail and in the settlements. The close quarters in which the pioneers traveled and lived made it easy for diseases to spread. The lack of basic sanitation and medical care also contributed to the spread of disease. Pioneers who became ill often had to rely on traditional medicine and the skills of local healers. Despite these challenges, the pioneers pressed on. They were driven by the dream of a better life in the West. They had left their homes in search of new opportunities and were determined to make the most of their new. The pioneers also had to deal with the issue of supplies running low. Traveling on the Oregon Trail was a difficult and dangerous journey, and it took months to travel the more than 2,000 miles to Oregon. Along the way, pioneers had to carry enough food and supplies to sustain themselves and their families through the journey. But even with careful planning, supplies often ran low. Pioneers had to be prepared to ration their food and make do with what they had. Despite all the obstacles they faced, the pioneers were able to build a new life for themselves in Oregon. They created thriving communities and laid the foundation for the state's future growth and prosperity. But it was not easy. They had to endure months of hardship and struggle to make their dreams a reality. If you're interested in finding out where your ancestors ended up settling in Oregon, there are a few ways to go about it. First, you can try looking up land records. When pioneers first arrived in Oregon, they often filed for land claims. These land records typically include the date of the claim, the size of the claim, and the location of the claim. With this information, you can narrow down the area where your ancestors may have settled. You can also look for their names in early Oregon newspapers. Newspapers often publish notices of land sales, homestead entries, and other transactions that can provide clues about where your ancestors settled. Additionally, there are several online resources that can help you track down your ancestors. The Oregon Historical Society has a website with a variety of resources for genealogical research, including a digital collection of Oregon newspapers. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Be sure to tune in next week for another exciting adventure on the Oregon Trail. Until then, keep exploring and learning. Thank you for watching.